The night my best friend pulled me into his bed, everything we were afraid of disappeared. Have you ever experienced a moment so powerful it splits your life into before and after? A night so unexpected, so overwhelming, that everything you thought you understood suddenly shifts beneath your feet. This is the story of the night my supposedly straight roommate reached across the darkness, pulled me into his bed, and whispered 3 words that changed everything. I need you. What followed wasn't just about attraction or desire. It was about 2 people finding the courage to face who they truly were, and realizing that sometimes the person you've been searching for has been right beside you all along. This is our story. This is how everything changed. The apartment always smelled like coffee and old books, mixed with whatever cologne Jake wore that day. Something warm and woodsy that made my chest tighten whenever I caught it in the hallway. We'd been roommates for 8 months, and I'd been quietly, hopelessly in love with him for about 7 months and 29 days.
I'm Adrien.
25. A graphic designer working remotely for a tech startup that paid just enough to cover my half of the rent in our cramped 2-bedroom apartment in the heart of Chicago. I came out at 19, survived my share of dating disasters, and eventually reached that comfortable place where I thought I knew exactly who I was and what I wanted. Or at least, I thought I did. Until Jake Mitchell walked into my life at a mutual friend's housewarming party, mentioned he was looking for a roommate, and quietly turned my world upside down. Jake was the kind of guy who turned heads without trying. 6'1", athletic from years of college baseball, dark hair always a little messy in that effortlessly attractive way, and piercing blue eyes that somehow seemed to see straight through whatever walls you tried to build. But it wasn't just his looks, though they didn't hurt. It was the way he laughed with his whole body, the way he ran a hand through his hair when he was thinking, the way he left sticky notes around the apartment with terrible jokes just to make me smile. "Morning, sunshine," Jake called from the kitchen one Thursday as I shuffled out of my bedroom, still half asleep and definitely not ready to face the day. I muttered something that barely passed as a greeting and headed straight for the coffee pot, only to find he'd already poured me a cup. Black,
No sugar.
exactly how I liked it. Small gestures like that were tiny paper cuts that slowly bled my heart dry. "Big presentation today?" he asked, leaning against the counter in a navy blue button-down that made his eyes look unreal. He worked in marketing for a sports equipment company, which meant he somehow managed to look unfairly attractive in business casual every single day. "Yeah, the Henderson account," I said, wrapping both hands around the warm mug. 3 months of work comes down to a 30-minute pitch. "You're going to crush it," he said with that genuine enthusiasm that made him impossible not to like. "Your designs are incredible, Adrien. They'd be idiots not to see that." My heart did that stupid flutter it always did when he said my name. I gave up trying to stop it a long time ago. "Thanks," I managed, taking a long sip of coffee to hide behind the mug. "What about you? Still drowning in product launch chaos?" he groaned, though he was smiling. "I think I've slept 4 hours total this week. But after tomorrow's event, I'm taking the whole weekend off. Thought maybe we could finally try that new Thai place on Morgan Street. The one with the rooftop." This was the dangerous dance we'd been doing for months. Casual hangouts that felt like dates but weren't. Comfortable domestic routines that felt like a relationship but couldn't be. Jake identified as straight. He'd had a girlfriend for 3 years in college. He went on occasional dates with women from work or through friends. He talked about wanting a family one day with a certainty that felt unmovable. And yet there were moments. Glances that lingered just a second too long. A hand on my shoulder that didn't pull away right away. The way he sometimes looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. Something unreadable flickering across his face. I told myself I was imagining it, projecting my feelings onto innocent gestures. "Sure," I said carefully. "Sounds good." Jake grabbed his messenger bag from the hook by the door, then paused, turned back, and did something he'd never done before. He reached out and squeezed my arm, his hand warm through the thin fabric of my t-shirt. "Hey," he said softly, "good luck today. Not that you need it." Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the kitchen with my coffee, my racing heart, and the lingering warmth of his touch. The presentation went better than well. The Henderson team loved the rebrand concepts, and by noon I had a signed contract and praise from my boss that would probably turn into a decent bonus. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I spent the rest of the afternoon staring at my screen, replaying the feeling of Jake's hand on my arm and wondering if I was slowly losing my mind. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya, my best friend since college and the only person who knew the full, embarrassing truth about my situation with Jake. Maya, how'd it go? Me, nailed it. They loved everything. Maya, that's my boy. We're celebrating tonight. Me, Jake mentioned dinner this weekend. There was a pause. Then, Maya, Adrien, we need to talk about this. Maya, you can't keep doing this to yourself. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. What could I even say? That I knew she was right but couldn't stop hoping? That my brain warned me every day, but my heart refused to listen? Me, I know. I'm working on it. Maya, you've been working on it for 6 months. Maybe it's time you move out. Get some distance. Me, maybe. But even as I typed it, I knew I wouldn't. Not yet. Not while we still had this easy rhythm, this quiet intimacy that felt too precious to walk away from, even if it was slowly breaking me. That evening, I got home before Jake, which almost never happened. The apartment felt wrong without him. Emptier, quieter, like a stage waiting for its main actor. I ordered Chinese takeout, poured a glass of wine, and curled up on the couch with my laptop, determined to work and absolutely not think about my roommate. I lasted 45 minutes. Then I heard his key in the lock. Adrien. Jake called from the entryway, but something in his voice was different. The usual brightness was gone, replaced with strain. I'm in here, I said, sitting up. He stood in the doorway, tie loosened, hair more disheveled than usual, eyes distant in a way I'd never seen before. My stomach tightened. Hey, I said carefully. You okay? He didn't answer right away. He just crossed the room and sat beside me. Closer than usual, so close our thighs almost touched. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. And I don't know how. My heart slammed against my ribs. 1,000 terrible possibilities raced through my mind. He was moving out. He'd met someone. He knew how I felt and was about to end this. You can tell me, I said, setting my laptop aside. You know that. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at his clasped hands. I went on a date last night, he said. The words hit like a punch. With Sarah from accounting. Nice. Funny. Everything I should want. I couldn't speak. I just waited. And the whole time, he continued, voice barely above a whisper, I kept wondering if you'd eaten, if you were home alone, and how much I wished I was here instead of on that date I was supposed to want. The room felt like it tilted. Jake, I'm not done, he said gently. After dinner, she invited me back to her place. And, Adrien, I couldn't do it. I walked her to her door, said goodnight, and came home. I came home hoping you'd still be awake. My breath caught. What are you saying? He finally looked at me, and the vulnerability in his eyes made my chest ache. I'm saying I don't know who I am anymore. For 3 months, I've tried to convince myself this is just friendship, just roommates, but I can't stop thinking about you, and it scares me. Silence stretched between us, fragile and charged. How long? I whispered. How long have you felt this? He ran both hands through his hair. I don't know. Maybe it was always there. Remember that night we stayed up until 4 talking? You were wrapped in that gray blanket, talking about how people are made of the books they read and the music they love. I remember thinking, I'd never felt so safe with anyone. And then you laughed, and something inside me shifted. I remembered that night. It was the night I realized I was in real trouble. Why didn't you say anything? I asked. Because I was terrified, he said. Because I spent my whole life certain of who I was, and suddenly I wasn't. I tried to force myself back into what was familiar. Tried dating. Tried pretending. But you couldn't, I said softly. No, he admitted. Because every road led back to you. The air felt heavy with everything unsaid. I wanted to reach for him, but fear held me back. Jake, I said carefully, I care about you, but I can't be someone's experiment. I can't be a phase. Something fierce lit in his eyes. You think that's what this is? I don't know what this is, I said honestly. You identified as straight your whole life. Now you're confused and scared. And I understand that. But if you're not sure, I'm not sure about a lot of things, Jake interrupted, shifting closer on the couch. I'm not sure what label fits me anymore. I don't know how to navigate this, or what it means for my future, or how to tell my family. There are 1,000 thoughts spiraling in my head. But, Adrien, I am absolutely sure about one thing. What I feel for you is real. It's not confusion. It's not an experiment. It's the realest feeling I've ever had in my life. My breath hitched. We were so close now I could see the faint flecks of gray in his blue eyes, could smell that familiar woodsy cologne that had been haunting me for months. What do you want from me? I whispered. His hand lifted, trembling slightly in the space between us. I want to see where this goes. I want to stop running from what I feel. I want, he swallowed, to know if you feel it too, or if I've completely misread everything between us. A shaky, almost hysterical laugh escaped my chest. Jake, I've been half in love with you since the day you moved in. I've been quietly breaking for months, watching you date other people, telling myself what we had was just friendship because that's all it was allowed to be. Half in love? He asked, a small smile tugging at his lips. I rolled my eyes weakly. Okay, completely, hopelessly, embarrassingly in love. Happy? His smile widened into something bright and real. Actually, yeah, I really am. He closed the distance between us, his hand finally touching my face, cupping it with a tenderness that made my eyes sting. His thumb brushed my cheek, and I leaned into his touch without thinking, savoring a moment I dreamed of but never truly believed would happen. Adrien, he murmured. My name sounded different on his lips now, like a promise. Can I? Yes, I breathed before he could finish. But he didn't kiss me yet. Instead, he rested his forehead against mine, our breaths mingling as the tension built almost unbearably. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. Scared I'll mess this up. Scared I don't know what I'm doing. Scared of what this changes. I'm scared too, I confessed. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. Something shifted in his expression. Relief, resolve, a quiet kind of wonder. Then he closed the final inch between us and kissed me. It wasn't explosive or desperate like I'd imagined. It was soft, careful. Two people finding each other in the dark. His lips were warm and gentle, and when I kissed him back, letting him know it was okay, that I wanted this too, I felt him relax into it, the kiss deepening with growing confidence. Time seemed to pause. There was no before or after, no fear, no future, just this moment, just us, just the overwhelming rightness of being honest at last. When we pulled apart, both breathing harder, he didn't let go. Instead, he wrapped his arms around me and pulled me against his chest. I could feel his heart pounding beneath my cheek. Stay tonight, he murmured into my hair. We don't have to do anything. I just want you close. I've wanted you close for so long. Okay, I whispered. Okay. We stayed like that on the couch for a long time as the city lights flickered outside the windows and the world kept turning. And for the first time in months, the weight of unspoken feelings and impossible hope began to lift. Whatever came next, we would face it honestly, together. That night marked the end of the before and the beginning of everything else. The next few days passed in a strange, beautiful limbo. Jake and I didn't rush to define what we were becoming. We let it unfold slowly, like learning a new language together. We sat closer on the couch. His hand would find mine while we watched TV. I'd wake up to good morning texts even though he was only a room away. Small messages that said, I'm thinking about you without using the words. But we didn't kiss again. We hovered on that edge, waiting for the right moment. Friday arrived with an early autumn chill that made our apartment feel especially warm. Jake's product launch had been a success, and we finally went to the Thai restaurant on Morgan Street to celebrate both his win and mine. The rooftop was beautiful, strings of lights overhead like a canopy of stars. To new beginnings, he said, lifting his glass. To being brave enough to take them, I replied. Later, back at the apartment, pleasantly buzzed from wine and food, we washed dishes together. Jake washing, me drying, bathed in the warm kitchen light. I talked to Maya today, I said. She invited us to her Halloween party next month. Both of us. His hands stilled in the water. As, together? If you want, I said gently. No pressure. We can go as roommates. Or not go at all. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he surprised me. I want people to know. Not everyone. Not yet. But Maya knows about us, right? She knows, I said. She won't judge you. Then let's go together, he said. As together. Whatever that looks like by then. That quiet courage filled my chest with pride. Okay, I said softly. Together. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was too full, his hand in mine, the way he'd said he wanted people to know about us. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up and took my sketchbook to the living room, curling into the armchair under the gray blanket. Without meaning to, I began to draw Jake. Couldn't sleep either? His voice startled me. He stood in the doorway in sweatpants, hair sleep messy and soft. Sorry, I said quickly, closing the book. Did I wake you? No, he said. My brain won't shut off. He crossed the room. I called my sister. My heart jumped. How did it go? I didn't tell her everything, he said. But I told her I had feelings for someone and I was scared. And, he smiled softly. She said she'd been waiting for me to figure it out. The way I talk about you apparently made it obvious. Warmth bloomed in my chest. She was happy for me, he added. Said whoever made me sound that alive was special. Gender didn't matter. Tears stung my eyes. She sounds wonderful. She is. And she wants to meet you. As more than my roommate. I'd like that. He took my hand. Come here. We stood close in the dark living room. I don't have the words, he admitted. Then show me. I whispered. Something in him broke open. He kissed me. Deeper now, sure. I kissed him back with months of longing. I want you, he whispered. I want you too, I answered. Come to bed with me, he said. Just to be close. I followed him to his room. Blue streetlight filled the space. He closed the door behind us like he was sealing this moment in. I've never done this before, he said. We can go slow, I promised. I don't want slow, he said. I'm done running. He kissed me again, no hesitation now. Hands explored. Breaths caught. We moved together until we were on the bed, touching, learning each other in quiet wonder. Tell me what you want, he whispered. This, I said. You. Us. We didn't rush. We didn't need to. We stayed tangled together as dawn crept into the sky. And in the quiet of early morning, his voice broke softly against my skin. I think I'm in love with you. No. I know I am. Tears filled my eyes as I turned to face him. I love you too, I whispered. I have for so long. Jake's smile was radiant, soft and transformative. He kissed me gently, then pulled me back against his chest, wrapping around me like he was trying to memorize the shape of me. Stay, he murmured, already drifting towards sleep. Don't go back to your room. I'm not going anywhere, I promised, meaning it in every way that mattered. We fell asleep wrapped around each other, the fears and uncertainties of the past months finally giving way to something simple and profound. Two people who loved each other, choosing to be brave enough to see where that love might lead. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the warm, steady weight of Jake's arm across my waist. For a moment, I lay perfectly still, afraid that moving might break this fragile, perfect bubble. Then he stirred behind me, his arm tightening as he pulled me closer. Morning, he murmured, his voice rough with sleep, sending a pleasant shiver down my spine. Morning, I whispered, turning to face him. In the morning light, he looked softer somehow. Unguarded, open in a way I'd never seen before. He watched me with such quiet affection that it took my breath. No regrets? I asked softly, needing to hear it. Not a single one, Jake said without hesitation. You just regret that we waited so long. I teased gently. He laughed, warm and rich. Yeah, we were pretty stupid about that, weren't we? Monumentally, I agreed. We stayed in bed for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. His fears about telling his parents, my worries about how this might change the easy dynamic we'd built as roommates, what we hoped our relationship could become. It wasn't all easy, but it was honest, and that mattered most. I don't have all the answers yet, Jake admitted. I don't know what label fits me, but what I feel for you isn't dependent on figuring that out. You're not an experiment. You're not a phase. You're it for me, Adrien. You're it for me too, I said simply. Eventually, reality intruded. Our phones buzzing. The smell of coffee drifting up from the cafe below. We got up, shared a shower that was both intimate and slightly awkward in the best way, then made breakfast together. Everything felt different now. Every casual touch carried meaning. Every smile held a secret. The weeks that followed were about learning how to be together. Not just roommates, not just friends, but something new that belonged only to us. We moved forward with surprising ease, though not without a few stumbles. Jake eased slowly into being out. He told Emily everything first. She video called within hours, her toddler babbling in the background, announcing how delighted she was and asking when we were coming to visit. His college friends came next. Their reactions ranged from surprised to amused. We were wondering when you'd figure it out. The hardest conversation was with his parents. I heard only muffled voices through the wall, long silences, raised tones, and what might have been tears. When Jake emerged an hour later, his eyes were red, but his expression was lighter. They need time, he said as I pulled him into a hug. But they'll come around. Dad said he just wants me to be happy. Mom asked if you treat me well. And what did you tell her? I asked. That you treat me like I'm the most important person in your world, he said with a soft smile. Because you do. I introduced Jake to my wider circle at Maya's Halloween party. We went as characters from The Princess Bride. Jake as Wesley, me as Prince Humperdinck, earning plenty of laughs. Maya pulled me aside, her eyes bright. He looks at you like you hung the moon, she said. I'm happy for you. Thank you for not giving up on me, I told her. That's what best friends do, she said, hugging me tightly. Life kept moving. I gained more clients. Jake got a promotion. Our apartment slowly transformed from a shared space into a home full of inside jokes, quiet mornings, and stolen kisses in the kitchen. But it wasn't perfect. About 6 weeks in, Jake had what I later understood was a small panic attack. We were at a sports bar with some of his coworkers. Caught up in the excitement of a home run, I squeezed his shoulder without thinking. One of his colleagues noticed. You two seem close, he said with a knowing smirk. Jake froze. We're just roommates, he replied flatly. The rest of the night he was distant. In the ride home, he stared out the window in silence. When we got back, he went straight to his old bedroom and closed the door. I stood in the hallway for a long moment, then knocked softly. When I entered, Jake sat on the bed with his head in his hands. I panicked, he said quietly. I got scared of being seen, of everything changing. I froze. It hurt, I admitted. But I understand you're scared. What I can't do is be shut out. I don't know how to be this person in the world yet, he said. I'm afraid of losing who I used to be. You're still Jake, I said firmly. The only difference is that now you're honest. He knelt in front of me and cupped my face.
I'm sorry.
I forgive you, I said, but we have to face the hard moments together. I know. We held each other on the bedroom floor for a long time. Come back to our room, he whispered. I don't want to be alone tonight. Our room, I repeated with a small smile. From then on, Jake tried, holding my hand in public, updating his relationship status online, posting a photo of us together. The response was mostly love. A few people disappeared. Each loss stung, but he didn't retreat again. Thanksgiving arrived with a question hanging between us. Would I go home with him? I want you there, Jake said. If you're ready. I am, I told him. So we flew to Grand Rapids. His mother opened the door with nervous warmth. His father's handshake was firm, reserved. The first hours were stiff, but when Emily arrived, the tension cracked open. During dinner, his parents tried. They stumbled, but they tried. Later, his mother pulled me aside. "I'm learning," she said softly, "and I can see that you love my son." "I do," I told her. "Then that's enough," she said. "Welcome to the family." That night, Jake and I lay in his childhood bedroom beneath posters from his teenage years, his old twin bed creaking softly as we shifted closer together. Older now, changed, but finally honest about the love that had brought us here. Jake's smile was radiant, transforming everything. He kissed me softly, sweetly, then pulled me back against his chest, wrapping around me like he was trying to fuse us into one. "Stay," he murmured, already half asleep. "Don't go back to your room."
"I'm staying," he whispered.
"I'm not going anywhere, I promise." And I meant it in every way that mattered. We fell asleep wrapped around each other, the fears and uncertainties of the past months finally easing into something simple and deep. Two people who loved each other, brave enough to see where that love might lead. I woke to sunlight pouring through unfamiliar windows and the warm, steady weight of Jake's arm across my waist. For a moment, I stayed perfectly still, afraid that even the slightest movement might shatter the perfect bubble we'd created. Then Jake stirred behind me, his arm tightening as he pulled me closer. "Morning," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep, sending a pleasant shiver through me. "Morning," I replied, turning to face him. He looked different in the morning light, softer, more open, his guard completely down. The way he looked at me with quiet affection made my breath catch. "No regrets?" I asked softly, needing to hear it. "Not a single one," Jake said immediately. "I just regret that we waited so long." "Yeah," I admitted with a small smile. "That part hurts." Jake laughed, warm and low. "We were pretty foolish about that." "Monumentally," I agreed, grinning. We stayed in bed for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. His fears about coming out to his parents, my worries about whether this would change the easy rhythm we'd built as roommates, what we wanted our relationship to become. The conversations weren't always easy, but they were honest, and that mattered most. "I don't have all the answers yet," Jake admitted at one point. "I don't know exactly what label fits me, but what I feel for you doesn't depend on figuring that out. You're not an experiment or a phase. You're it for me." "You're it for me too," I said simply. Eventually, the world found its way back in. Our phones buzzed with notifications. The smell of coffee from the cafe downstairs drifted through the open windows. We got up, shared a shower that was intimate and awkward in the best way, and cooked breakfast together. Everything felt different now. Every casual touch carried meaning. Every smile held a secret. We had crossed a line, and neither of us wanted to go back. The weeks that followed were a quiet lesson in learning how to be together. Not just as roommates or best friends, but as something new and entirely ours. Jake began coming out slowly. He told Emily first, and within hours she video called me, her toddler babbling in the background as she declared herself absolutely thrilled and demanded to know when we were visiting. His college friends were next, their reactions ranging from surprise to, "Yeah, we kinda wondered when you'd figure that out." The hardest conversation was with his parents. I wasn't in the room, but I heard the raised voices, the long silences, the moment that sounded dangerously close to tears. When he finally came out, his eyes were red, but his face was relieved. "They need time," he said as I pulled him into a hug. "But they'll come around. My dad said he just wants me to be happy. And my mom asked if you treat me well." "And what did you say?" I asked. I said, "You treat me like I'm the most important person in your world." "Because you do." I introduced Jake to my wider friend group at Maya's Halloween party. We went as characters from The Princess Bride, Jake as Wesley, me as Prince Humperdinck, earning plenty of laughs and knowing looks. Maya pulled me aside, her eyes bright. "He looks at you like you hung the moon," she said. "I'm so happy for you." "Thank you for pushing me to be honest," I replied. That's what best friends do, she said, hugging me tight. Life continued. I gained more clients. Jake earned a promotion. Our apartment shifted from a shared space into a home filled with inside jokes, quiet kisses, and the comfort of building something real together. 6 weeks in, everything wasn't perfect. One night at a sports bar with Jake's coworkers, I squeezed his shoulder during the excitement of a home run, an innocent gesture that suddenly felt loaded. A coworker noticed and made a comment. Jake froze. "We're roommates," he said flatly. The rest of the night he was distant. In the ride home, he stared out the window in silence. When we arrived, he went to his old bedroom instead of ours. That soft click of the door felt like a wall between us. After a long moment, I knocked. "Jake, can we talk?" Silence. "I'm coming in," I said gently. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. When he looked up, his face held fear, shame, and confusion all at once. "I panicked," he said. "I was terrified of being seen, of everything changing." I froze. "It's okay to be scared," I told him. "But I hurt you," he said. "It stung," I admitted. "But shutting me out hurts more." "I don't know how to do this," he whispered. "How to exist in spaces where I've always been someone else." "You're still Jake," I said firmly. "The same man I fell in love with. What if people only see this part of me now?" Then we faced that together. He knelt in front of me and cupped my face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I forgive you," I said softly. "But we need to talk when things get hard." "I'll try," he promised. That night marked a shift. Jake began taking small, brave steps, holding my hand in public, posting a photo of us online with the simple caption, "Happy with this one." Most reactions were loving. A few silences still hurt, but they didn't define him. Thanksgiving brought another test, going home to meet his parents. I went with him. The visit was awkward at first, full of careful words and cautious glances. But effort was there. By the end of the night, his mother took me aside and told me she was learning, and that she could see how much I loved her son. "Then that's enough," she said, smiling. "Welcome to the family." That night, I slept on an air mattress beside Jake's twin bed. At some point, he climbed down beside me, curling around me in the cramped space. "I just want you close," he whispered. The months that followed passed in a blur of happiness and normal life. Jake officially came out at work. I spent Christmas with his family, and he spent it with mine. We built routines, argued occasionally, learned how to fight fairly, and always found our way back to each other. On New Year's Eve, we went to Maya's rooftop party. Just before midnight, Jake pulled me close. "A year ago, I was living half a life," he said softly. "Now I have everything. Here's to being brave," I replied, "and choosing love over fear." As the fireworks exploded overhead, he kissed me like the world had narrowed to just us. A year and 3 months have passed since that night. We moved into a new apartment with 1 bedroom. Jake found confidence in who he is. I found stability I never expected. We adopted a stubborn rescue cat named Waffles. We built steady, quiet happiness. Sometimes, on slow Sunday mornings, Jake looks at me and smiles with that same wonder. "Just remembering," he says, "the night everything changed." "Best decision we ever made?" I tease. "Best one we ever made," he corrects, kissing me. And lying there together, in a life we chose with courage and honesty, I know it's true. The extraordinary has become ordinary, and the ordinary has become the most beautiful kind of miracle.